If you aren't feeling like yourself anymore, you may feel lost and stuck, but this doesn't mean that you don't feel lucky and fortunate. We can feel grateful for the love, support, and the lives we have, but we can still feel unhappy. This can happen when we put ourselves and what we need on the back burner. We can then realize we have no idea who we are. We may even feel resentful of the things we have. But we can also feel scared and guilty about jumping into a more fulfilling life. This week, I have an inspirational chat with Jamie Berris about her journey from feeling stuck in life and how the first step was her getting back to the basics and remembering who she was again. What's your stuck story?
I think first of all, I graduated college with all these big dreams and aspirations of what I'm going to do, get married. And I think it's easy to just kind of fall in the shoes that I think a little bit are expected, but probably a lot of it is what you think is expected. I graduated with an exercise science degree and I wanted to make exercise videos. I've always loved to write. So I thought I'm going to write fitness articles for fitness magazines. And my degree was more in the corporate fitness and wellness. So I would go into companies like law firms. I had a law firm that I would go into and do all of their personal training and loved what I did. But I just knew I wanted something further and I didn't know how. And then I had a baby and then I had another baby and then I had another one and then another one.
Wow.
Yeah. So 4 kids later, you just put all of your aspirations on the back burner. And I did that for decades. And all of a sudden it was just, who am I? What have I done besides raise kids? And constantly being told that, oh my gosh, but that's everything. It's so wonderful. Don't discredit it. You're so lucky that I should back up. I did that. It was probably 14 years ago when I stopped really working. And I worked pretty part-time when the younger two, or with the first two. And so it's been, my oldest is 20, my youngest is about ready to turn 9. So it's been a really long time that I was actually out there in the world. And I thought, it's scary. I don't know how to enter back in. I don't even know who I am anymore. But also just feeling the guilt, I think, of you don't have to work for a paycheck. We're fine without one. How dare you want to go and do something for you? And I let all of those voices just kind of keep me small. So I started writing actually when I was pregnant with my second. She's about to turn 18. So I wrote 2 women's fiction novels, which I self-published. But it just never really seemed like enough. I think waking up and having all of these dreams and aspirations that I still had, and I'll be honest, kind of resentful to my family for feeling a little trapped. Not like you put me here, but I gave up all of that for this, and yeah, a little resentful.
You've lost yourself, you've lost your identity almost, your identity, and you've become a mother and a wife and a family member. But where were you in all of this?
Exactly. And I knew I still wanted to really, I've always been that type, just like the helper or, someone that empowers other people, whether it's, physical fitness and wellness or mental, emotional, always in the back of my mind thinking, oh, it would be so awesome to be like a life coach. Because then with my exercise background and I love to write, but it just always seemed very unimportant too. Because, is it really needed? Everything I would always, just a lot of self-doubt. And I think as the years went on and I got a little bit older and the kids got further in school, I felt even more doubt of, is there a place for me? So I did finally go back about a year ago and I did get my coaching certificate. So I'm just starting that, and I have switched from writing women's fiction to nonfiction, self-development. So I have a book in the work there and a workbook to go along with it. But then there was, I guess there's a lot of personal things along the way that helps me lose myself too. A lot of people pleasing, a lot of shame that built up over the years, very, very weak boundaries, avoiding conflict, confrontation, and how do you say, I finally really figured out and this is where it gets a little tricky, is what narcissism is. Always feeling it and not understanding it for what it was, and having to really kind of dive in and explore what it is, and when it hits close to home with loved ones, and understanding them and dealing with that. And I think that is one of my driving forces I know it influenced and impacted me to when I lost myself, but it had a bigger impact of finding myself. And it's really fueled me to write more along the self-development and get that coaching certification, because I know there's so many people out there hurting that I can help too. So that was probably my biggest turnarounds. I think sometimes our biggest problems end up being our biggest blessings. While we're in them, it's not so much. But once we start walking through them and facing all the stuff, we can start to transform. So in a nutshell, that's a lot of it.
I'm wondering, when you decided it was time to change, did you know what it was that you wanted to do or that you needed?
I knew forgiveness was huge. And I knew it first was going to come to forgiving myself and understanding that what I went through, I always thought, I just need thicker skin and a higher tolerance to handle people. I'm just too sensitive. And then the more I dove in and researched and studied and became aware of what shame does, what it looks like, I thought, holy cow, no wonder I feel all this angst inside. It is my body telling me, every warning signal going off of, these situations are toxic, these people are toxic, and you're in the thick of it. So I really had to dive in, and I thought, I need to first work on forgiving myself, unhooking and forgiving other people, but also I had to work on developing my relationship with myself and starting all over again, because I did feel so much shame. And I did have such weak boundaries, and I enabled a lot of it. And it was a real time of knowing that I needed to take responsibility for myself and ownership and accountability and really find my path again. And it was hard at first because I was so far gone. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to get back on the path. And I think that was the tough part. And that is where the coaching really helped identify, just kind of getting back to the basics of really sitting down. Who am I? What do I like? Who makes me feel good? It was truly the basics.
So it really, the first part of your journey was coming back to yourself and fixing you, and then it sounds like it then naturally progressed into helping other people and coaching and stuff. It wasn't like at the beginning you're like, I need to help other people. There was a healing process, and then it grew naturally out of that.
Right. And it's taken several years. I'd say my kind of rock bottom-ish was about 5 years ago, and it was just the rocking chair I'm in right now. I sit out here in the front porch with my coffee, just really praying of how, it's just how do I do this? I knew that I had a wonderful husband, wonderful kids. We have a great life. We do so many awesome things and so many experiences, and we're super fortunate. Why am I so miserable? And it's just, as I started going through it, my eyes were opened. And I think they were closed for so long because it was too hard to really face the truth of, well, the truth hurts. And I think that was one of my big things that's one of my big things I remind myself, is this truth hurting or harming me? And I realized so many of my truths were harming me, and I can handle the hurt, but you can't survive the harm. And so when I look at these hard truths, it's kind of like, okay, this hurts and I need to go through this, and maybe I can love some people better from a distance. They're not going to be happy and it's going to cause all kinds of turmoil, but I can't sit there and allow someone to shame me and shame my family for who we are. And knowing that every night when I put my head on my pillow, if I'm right with God, then I'm just right. And you can't listen to the voices of other people.
And I'm wondering then, finally, if other people that might be where you were back then and feeling stuck right then, and they're in the middle of it, do you have a key piece of advice that you'd want them to hear?
I think the biggest piece of advice would be to find help and support from people who have your best interests in mind and not their own. I think anyone that can, whether it's therapy or coaching or consulting, someone that you can find that is from the outside, with no agenda, that I think in the beginning stages, it's just emptying out. It's just kind of like that dumping. And whether that's just starting with journaling, but at some point you have to make that decision of, I want change. And your outer and I think that was one of the biggest things. And I see this with a lot of people too. We are waiting for our outer circumstances to change. My life will be better when this problem goes away, or this person stops doing that, or this person goes away, and it's never going to happen. And it all has to start from within. So however you can start to develop that relationship with yourself is the first step, is working on you. The self-love, the self-care, because we don't need to earn other people's love. We're all worthy. And I think it's that ripple effect. When we get right with ourselves, everything else just kind of starts to fall into place. So it's however you can get back to being you and develop a better relationship with yourself. Because you're always with you, right?
Did you resonate with Jamie's story? Have you felt stuck but also grateful for everything that you've had? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, check out these ones as well, because there's also great inspirational stories for you to sink your teeth into. Until next week.